what is the acceptance theory of authority? Well, this is a theory about authority and the acceptance of a superior's authority by a subordinate that was put forward by Chester Bernard, and ultimately it's become one of the four major theories of authority that exist: the formal theory, the acceptance theory, the authority theory of the situation, and the competence theory of authority. But in essence, the theory is what we call a bottoms-up approach. It states that authority must be accepted by the subordinate before the authority figure actually has any authority. That is, it is the acceptance by the subordinate that actually creates the authority. Okay, so if we take a look at this individually, so the premise is that authority requires acceptance. All right, now if an employee, a subordinate, receives some level of direction from a manager, okay, they have the option of whether to accept that communication and do whatever they can to comply with it, or reject it. Okay, and there's different levels of how they interpret the communication that they receive. Is it something that's clearly in line with their values and the organizational mission? It's something they might readily accept immediately. If it's borderline, that is, they're not certain they believe in the communication themselves or that it fits the organizational purpose, they may accept it or may not. And then conversely, if they absolutely don't believe in it, they're not going to accept it. So the action or inaction is the result of whether they accept the individual's communication or no. So what are some conditions to make certain that a manager's communications are accepted and thus authority is established? Well, one, it must be able to be fully interpreted by the recipient. There's no ambiguity about its meaning or context. It needs to be consistent with the organizational objectives first, and then consistent with the personal objectives of the individual. Okay, and these will vary. This is a very subjective criteria, right? The organizational objective might be clear, but the personal objective of the individual will vary between individuals. And then it's capable of being accepted. That is, the individual is capable of doing whatever is requested or demanded by the communication. Okay, and so the guidance put forward by Bernard about how to effectuate acceptance authority most effectively within the organization all centers around having formal channels of communication, that the formal channel should exist, that there should be a direct link between the manager and the subordinate for the communication. There should be direct channels just between those individuals, that you don't have to go through others. You should always follow the formal channels of communication, and in doing so, it is more likely that the communication, once again, will be accepted because it meets those, or is more likely to meet those conditions for acceptance. So this, at its base level, is the acceptance theory of authority.